Welcome to the Unfiltered Tea with Evie podcast, where personal brands and service providers come for honest, anti-sleaze marketing advice that actually works. I'm Evie Taveras, founder of Evie Taveras Branding, and if you're tired of manipulative tactics, sleazy marketing strategies, and feeling like you're the only one who doesn't have your business all together, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we're diving into copywriting, personal branding strategy, business mindset, and balancing business with kids and real life. I'll be bringing in some epic guests, including business experts, to share their insights and real experiences in life and business. You can expect real life stories, tactical tips, and the occasional spicy Evie moment, all served up with your morning cup of tea. So grab your tea, get cozy, and let's get into it. I just wrapped up with our next guest, who I am so excited for you to meet. This guest has been such a huge part of my business. I feel like I say that about all my guests, but I think that's just a testament to them and how they help people and have an impact on people. And this guest, again, is no different. So we cover everything. This is very much about mums in business, mums who run businesses, carrying all of the things, the mental load of being a mom, how to know whether it's a mindset issue or a strategy issue in your business, and how to know if things just need time to work and you don't have to burn everything down and redo all of your strategy. What you actually need is to just give it time. And we dive into those things and so much more. So I cannot wait for you to have a listen. And so without further ado, our next guest is Laura Sinclair. Laura is a strategic business mentor and entrepreneur who helps women build profitable, sustainable businesses without sacrificing their lives in the process. With over a decade of entrepreneurial experience spanning marketing, events, and community building, she supports founders in clarifying their vision, strengthening their offers, and creating systems that drive growth without burnout. Laura is the founder of This Mother Means Business, a platform and community dedicated to supporting entrepreneurial women through mentorship, education, and connection. Known for her honest, practical approach and story-driven style, she empowers women to step into leadership, make confident decisions, and build businesses that support both their ambitions and their real lives. So grab your cup of tea, start your walk, start your drive, whatever it is that you're doing right now listening to this episode, and let's dive in. Welcome back. I am here today with an incredible guest, Laura Sinclair. Thank you so much for being here, Laura.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, Evie.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I have a ton of really good questions, especially when it comes to mom entrepreneurs, because I know that's what you're all about. This Mother Means Business. You are a mom in business as well. And you kind of just call out the fact that it's not the same for us as it is for business owners who don't have kids, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I ever thought that I would be doing this work, but I have done it both ways. I have been the entrepreneur without children, and I am now the entrepreneur with children. And so this isn't just opinion, It is in fact the truth, and I like to tell the truth.
Yeah. Well, let's tell some more truth then.
Let's do it.
Can you take me back to the beginning? So before you started This Mother Means Business, before you started your business, where were you at?
So I'm a corporate marketer by trade, actually. I very much, I like to say that I subscribe to what was prescribed to me in life. And I went to school. I was told I was supposed to go to university and I was going to work for somebody else for the rest of my life. And that was what I was supposed to do. And so I was very obedient in my youth for the most part. So we had a little wild edge, but I was pretty obedient when it came to the things that I was told I was supposed to do to be a responsible human being and a good member of our society. And so I did that. I started my career in PR, shifted over to marketing relatively early on. I think I wanted to work in sports marketing. That's what I thought I would do. And yeah, I ended up running a lot of the digital and social media for some really big brands in Canada, both on the agency side and on the corporate side. And then in 2016, gosh, what is time? I ended up buying a brick and mortar gym. I walked away from the corporate world and I ran a brick and mortar gym for 5 years. And during that time, I had 2 children. And so the first one came about a year into owning the gym, which I can't say that I would ever recommend that a person get pregnant and have a baby within the first year of running a brick and mortar business. It happens, but don't do it if you can avoid it. And then my son, who is now 5, or I'd like to say 5.5, he came I was 8 weeks pregnant when the pandemic happened. And so when the world shut down in 2020, I will never forget being 8 weeks pregnant. Nobody knew that I was pregnant because I was a person that had had a series of miscarriages before having my children. And so I was very like secretive about my pregnancies because I just didn't want to have those conversations in that season of my life anyway. And so I went through a lot. I went through a really difficult time running that business with my kids and learned a lot and tried to kind of follow a lot of the same patterns that a lot of women still follow when they sort of try to build their business and be everything to all people. And then when the pandemic happened, I had the opportunity to kind of decide what I wanted to do with my life. And did I want to start my business over from scratch, my gym business, and try to rebuild that? And the answer for me was just no. I didn't want to. I was ready to close that chapter. And so I moved my business online. And at that point I was 3 months postpartum with a 3-month-old baby and no income. And so I started just sharing about social media online, kind of merged my two lives, and knew that I had a skill to help business owners fill the funnel in their businesses because of my corporate training, and started just with that. And then I was having so many conversations with people that were so much broader than just social media. It wasn't just marketing we were talking about. It was leadership, it was strategy, it was mindset, it was motherhood. This was coming up over and over and over. And it was never my intention to build a platform for mom entrepreneurs. Was not the plan. But I kind of looked around one day and realized that, 99% of my clients are moms. And we're talking about these things. And so it sort of naturally, accidentally kind of shifted in this direction as I recognized that I actually had a lot more that I could share, a lot more that could be valuable than just how to grow your business on social media. It was so much more than that, because the truth is, owning a gym there's not much that you don't see in business. When you run a brick and mortar gym, you're seeing sales, you're seeing marketing, you're seeing customer experience, it's managing team. I mean, I managed 12 people in the context of owning my gym, and leadership and all of those things. And then I launched the podcast called This Mother Means Business in 2023. It was always supposed to just be the name of the show. And then we did retreats, and then we launched a membership community, sort of coaching platform. And we hosted our first big event in 2025. And we're on the cusp. We're 43 days out at the time of recording on our second big event that'll be happening in April of 2026.
Which I'm so excited for, by the way.
I'm so glad you're coming.
I'm so pumped.
I'm so glad you're coming.
I love that. And I love how you talked about mums being everything to all people, because I think it's, we put it on ourselves, but it's also the reality. We have a household to run, we have kids to raise, we have a lot of responsibilities, and then some of us add a business on top of that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot.
When you say it like that, it's crazy, right?
It's crazy. Sounds insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is insane. I mean, it's two full-time jobs. Being a mom is a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
I think they've done the math, and oh gosh, I'm going to mess this up, Evie, but they have done studies to see like how much work women are doing actually. Like if you were to be a stay-at-home mom and be there full time and manage, all of the moving parts of the house, I think your annual salary would need to be something like $278,000 a year. And then we're doing that, but then we're also trying to bring in revenue in our business and also trying to show up as a leader. But then also we're supposed to take care of ourselves, and we're also supposed to eat well, and we're also supposed to exercise. Like these expectations are impossible. And so a lot of my work is actually trying to break some of those expectations, break down what it actually means to be good at those things. And so, yeah, in my mentorship role, it's an interesting place to be because I do a lot of strategy. I mean, people come to me because they want to make more money. And so I help them to do that, but I help them to do that while also navigating all of these other things, all these other roles, all these other responsibilities, because we can't ignore them. I think too many business strategies, and this is sort of where I get on my soapbox a little bit. So, hang with me for a second.
Oh, yeah.
But too many business strategies forget this human element of it. And a lot of women, a lot of moms are building like solo style businesses, and they're not necessarily freelancers. They might be, but it's like them and a VA, or them and like maybe one other person that they're contracting. But we have to consider the human being behind the business. And when that human being is also responsible for a myriad of other things that most people aren't, it becomes especially challenging. And that's sort of where I step in and get a little loud. And
you've been in business for 10 years. Is that right?
Yes. I've been an entrepreneur in various ways for 10 years. Yeah. So I've done a few different things. I don't know how into human design you are, Evie, and I'm like woo adjacent, but I'm a manifesting generator by human design, which means I'm like allowed to do a lot of different things. But I think for some people, if they would look at my journey and be like, wow, that's really all over the place. But to me, it makes total sense. It's all made sense. Everything that I've been through, everything that's happened has really arrived me in this moment. So it makes sense to me.
And keeping in mind what we just said about the mental load that we as moms carry doing all the things, what are some of the biggest lessons or takeaways that you've had over those various ventures and over those 10 years?
So many, and most of them really painful. I think that's also part of why I get so passionate about what it is that I'm doing. But when we think about what they are, for the first one for me was like really just having to redefine what it means to be a good mom. The definition of good motherhood was something that I wore that didn't actually belong to me. My mom gave up her career to be a stay-at-home mom. So there were 3 of us. She didn't work. That's what I thought motherhood was. I thought that motherhood meant martyrdom. It meant I had to sacrifice everything that I actually wanted. And for so long in my life, Evie, I didn't grow up being like, I just can't wait to be a mom. That was never me. I wasn't certain that I would have kids because the version of motherhood that I saw was one that involved a lot of sacrifice. It was one that involved my mom doing almost nothing for herself and everything for us. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to be a little more selfish than that. I don't want that. And so when I became a mom, I really felt a lot of very painful resistance to what I thought it was supposed to be versus what I want. And this sort of how I thought I was supposed to show up created quite a lot of pain and quite a lot of rub for me because I just wanted to be in my gym and building my business. But what do you mean I have to be at home with this baby that is breastfeeding for, every 20 minutes, it feels like, and I'm at this human food source and I can't actually do all of these things. And so there was so much breaking down of my identity and breaking down and rewriting what it actually means to be a good mom. That was probably the most painful part of it all. And now I'm so clear on what good motherhood means for me. And I'm so clear on what good entrepreneurship means for me. But certainly that was a really, really big lesson that I had to learn. So that, and then the other one, again, very painful, is that you really have to ask for help. We were talking before about how many roles we're wearing, right? How many responsibilities. It is impossible to do it all. You can't. You will drop a ball. And it's okay to drop balls that are going to bounce. It's not so great to drop balls that are going to smash. But the reality is, even if you are dropping balls that are okay to bounce, you're still going to end up dropping balls that'll smash unless you ask for help. And sometimes that ball that's going to smash might be your own mental health, right? And that's not okay.
Yep.
And so asking for help is something that I've had to learn over and over and over and over again, because just when I think that I'm asking for help enough, something happens. And then it's like, okay, I need to ask for help even more. And so I think there is a little bit of ego. I think there's a little bit of expectation that comes from this, like, well, I can do it all. No, girl, you can't. And please stop trying. There's no badge for that. So I think those are really the biggest ones for me was, what does it actually mean to be a good mom for me? And then stop trying to be a hero. Like, I don't want to be a superhero. No, thanks.
And what does that look like for clients who are kind of resistant to asking for that help? How do you help them get over that?
I love this question. This was something that I was just speaking to a peer about, actually. And we were talking about how I actually see this in a lot of women, that they just really struggle with it. This, I think, is one of the biggest hangups that I see for people. And I talk about this in my mentorship, like, don't come work with me. I'll tell you right now, don't come work with me if you're not ready to make this change. Because if this is something that you can't let go of, your business is just going to stay stuck. It will, because you're going to become the bottleneck. There has to be change on the backside of it. And I think it can be really, really painful. And we all have different definitions of like what motherhood, what we think it should be. And what I encourage people to do is not to adopt mine, but to find theirs. But for most women, there is change that has to happen. I'll give you an example. I have a past client who was really overwhelmed running a very overwhelming business. Lots of moving parts, lots going on. And she's listing for me. We got on a call. She's like listing for me all these things that she has going on. I got to do this and I got to do this. And I got to take the kids to their doctor's appointments and then this and this. And I'm listening to her knowing for a while that her husband is a stay-at-home dad. And she's sort of the primary breadwinner in the family. So I was like, oh, can dad take them to the appointment? She's like, well, no, it can't. Like, I have to be there. I was like, well, but do you? Dad's home. Dad can do that. She says, well, yeah, but don't they need their mom at the appointment? And I'm like, I think I think that dad will be just fine. My husband takes my kids to their doctor's appointment because his schedule, he's a firefighter, so he works 7 24-hour days a month. But even just the act of letting go of a doctor's appointment, right? That would have, if we're going to empower dad or a partner, whoever, or mom or grandma, like whoever, to go and do that. And that gives you 2 hours back in your day to actually focus on what you need to. Like, is that okay? And so for some women might be listening to this and being like, no, I will be at the doctor's appointment. And that's fine. But some of it is like looking at what actually has to be you. And some of that is like value system aligned. And, for this client, we were able to identify like, actually, it is fine for dad to be there because it's just a basic checkup. We're not like getting needles. There's nothing. And you know what? It's really beautiful that we can empower dad to have that relationship of being comforting to children. But I think it's also just a story. Like for this client, it was a story she was telling herself. Well, I have to be there for my kids because they're going to need a hug from their mom after they see this cruel, terrible doctor who's going to traumatize them when probably it's some lovely pediatrician that's going to give them stickers and a lollipop after, and it doesn't really matter. And they're certainly not going to be 13 years old being like, remember that one time you made dad take us to the doctor's appointment? Like, how dare you? So it's things like that, Evie, that can start to get in the way for people when we create these stories. We tell ourselves that it has to look like this or that. And it's like, but wouldn't it be easier if you just let somebody else carry that load for a little bit? Like, especially if you have a partner that's available. So stuff like that. I think that's where we get ourselves stuck, is we actually create what I like to call a more invisible load for us rather than just shifting it off. Because geez, my husband my kids have a doctor's appointment about 45 minutes away 2 weeks from now that my husband's taking them to. I will not be there because that's going to be 3 hours of my day. And we just mentioned, I'm on the tail end of planning an event. I don't have time. So dad can go and do that. And that's just fine. But it's kind of getting to that place that can take some time for people.
Yeah. And like that feeling of, oh, it's only done right if I do it myself. I know that's something I struggled with as well when I was starting to work with VA. And it doesn't have to be fancy. Like, I think sometimes people have this thought of, oh, I have to hire a full-time person in my business to get some of this off my load. But like literally a VA for a couple hours a week makes a huge difference. But then like there was that grip of like, if I'm not doing it, then like people are paying to work with me. I should be doing it and nobody else can do it the way I can. But she does do it the same way I can. Like, she does a really good job. Sometimes she does better than I do because she's very detail oriented and she remembers things that I forget, but she's taking that mental load off, which is such a huge impact.
Yeah. We have to give people a chance too. We have to give people a chance. And I was the same way, Evie, for like so many things, so many things. Oh, you're not going to put the baby down right. It's the bedtime routine. You might mess it up, and I can laugh about this now, but like back then it was like, hey, but just make sure like I remember letting my mom come and I like wrote down on paper, like the 12-step routine that she like, must follow in order to put the baby down. Like, I'm sure she did none of it. I'm very sure. And the baby went down just fine. So like, these are the things that we create. And same thing, right? Like in our business, when I was running my social media marketing agency, there were things that I was doing for a really long time that I told myself that I was the best at. And then I finally let it go. And the person I gave it to was way better at it than I ever could have been. And Dan Martell, he's got a book that's called Buy Back Your Time. And one of the things that he says is 80% done is 100% awesome. 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome. And I think that we have to really adopt that. I don't quote men very often, but that is one that I like to hold on to because we have to really identify for ourselves, like, A, what's your time worth? And B, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be your way. And this is something that I had to learn pretty early on in my entrepreneurship journey, that like my way is I'm not here to be right. The job just needs to get done. And I'm happy to give people as a leader, like to give them a fair amount of rope. And, if something's not working, we'll change it. One of the things that I had to recognize for me in my business is for so long, I was trying to stop the mess from happening, right? And so like, if we use this, I'm like running around with my mop, like figuratively trying to just make sure that there's nothing messy that happens. But then when I realized is that there's actually no mess that is possibly made that I can't clean up. And so when I started to shift my mentality to that like there's no way that anyone on my team is going to make a mess that I can't fix. That was so freeing. Because then I just was like, all right, it's fine. I have to give them this rope to do this. Because if I'm running around trying to stop little spills from happening, I'm going to exhaust myself. I have to, if the mess is going to happen, It's fine. I'm going to deal with it. But you know, to this day, there's really, I can maybe like in the context of my gym business more so because I didn't have the same leadership skills that I do now. But, you know, now in my business, like I can't, like the worst thing that could happen is probably my VA accidentally sending like an email without a subject line. Like there's really nothing. And if that does happen, it's like, oopsies, you know, like nobody dies. Like there's nothing bad happens. But also to your point around delegation, when we were talking about, you know, it doesn't always have to be full time. I think it's really important to delegate at home too. And one of the examples I want to give you is I have a client who has a really successful business. She also works full time and she's also a mom. So she's got a lot going on. And one of the things we were chatting the other day, and I was like, okay, like what's on your list? She's like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. My husband is going through a really hard time and I don't want to put more on him. I was like, great. So like, let's talk about what are the things that you're doing right now. She already had a cleaner because I made her hire a cleaner because we need to not do that. And I was like, okay, what are we doing for meals? She's like, oh, you know, I was ordering the meal prep service, like the meal delivery. She lives in the US, so they have infinity meal delivery services. She's like, but the food's kind of gross. And I was like, great, can we find a local chef then to come in and meal prep in your house? And she was like, those people exist. So we're literally sitting there on our coaching call, like Googling, trying to find her, someone local to her that does meal prep. We found someone that comes to her house once a week, makes all the food. It is not nearly as expensive as you think. She comes in, you pay for the groceries, she preps the food, and then she leaves. She comes in once a week and makes food for her. So she doesn't have to think about it. All of the food is done. So it's things like this, right? If we know that we can't do everything in our business, we know that we can't do anything in our house. So how do we hire out some of these things? And obviously there is privilege that comes with that. Your business needs to be making the revenue. You need to have the income to do that. But we do have to sort of be aware of what that balance is. And one of the things that I think is important as business owners is to understand, like, how much money could you make if I were to give you 4 hours back every week? What would that look like? And I'm in a season right now for me where I really just want to serve my people and sell. That's all I want to do. Sell my things, serve my people, and hang out on podcasts with people like you. But this is serving and selling as well. Like this is part of my work. And so I'm really trying to get out of the weeds of my business as much as possible. And is it expensive? Yeah. But it's also allowing me to do things that are actually money making. And that's what's more important.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about sustainable growth, which is a phrase that is thrown around everywhere online. It looks different for everybody, especially for moms. But when it comes to like your clients and what you do, how does it tie in for like your clients, and how do you do that in your own business? Yeah.
And I love that you name that it like kind of looks different for everybody, because it does, right? And sustainable, and certainly if we're going to link motherhood into this, is going to look different in different seasons, right? Sustainable for me, I know for a fact, sustainable for me and sustainable for you in our seasons are very different. Your children are younger than mine. Mine are in school. So I have the capacity to do more. I have more time to work on my business than you do. And probably somebody that's listening, and there's probably someone that's listening that's like, I got all the time in the world. And that's beautiful. So sustainability in your business needs to match with the season that you're in as a mom, which is sort of the first piece. But then it also comes down to like, really understanding what are the things that actually work. And I love that you've asked me this question now in this moment, because I'm in a season right now where I'm in like max capacity for all things. I feel like I'm just being stretched in every way, at a place where it's like, ooh, this is a little uncomfortable. And I'm really having to take a step back, and I can't do it for the next 43 days because I have this event. But I have to take a step back and be like, whoa, okay, what am I doing that I don't need to be? And I think that is when we talk about sustainability and growing sustainably, is like, you're going to have to get to a level where your business grows, and then we need to kind of break it. And then we're going to put it back together, and it's going to grow again. And then you're going to break it again. And I'm in a moment right now where I'm like, oh, I need to break this and figure out like how to make this easier, because there's so many things going on for me, right? I have the events, I have my membership, I'm guest on other people's podcasts. I have my own podcast. I agreed to write a chapter in a book. I don't know why I did that. Like there's so many things going on. And so really when I think about what's sustainable, it's like, what can you do in the seasons where you don't have the energy? And are we actually looking at knowing what are the things that actually move the needle for you in your business? And it's something that we need to look at, I think, a couple of times a year. And certainly when you're in a season of growth, or you've gone through a season of growth, right? To look back and to say, okay, what are the things that actually work for me in my business? Because if you don't know that A plus B equals new client, whatever that formula is for you in your business, or A plus B equals sale, business is going to be really, really hard for you. you're going to have a hard time. So when I think about sustainability, it's really looking at what are the actions that you can take, that you should be taking in your business every day, every week, that are actually going to move the needle. And then how do we push the rest to the side? And those can change. Because I know right now, like even as we're speaking, there are things that I'm doing that aren't moving the needle in my business right now because I just know. And it's like, all right, we've moved up, things have changed. I need to clear out some of those. I'll let you know what they are in May.
Yeah. And I think that's where like I think when people are marketing or they're trying to get clients, they just assume like social media is the way I'm going to get it. And so they got stuck in like this hamster wheel of creating content. But is it really getting you new clients? And like, just like you said, sitting down and really analyzing, where did you get your clients from? Like what's actually working for you?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people kind of miss that. They just assume posting every day is what they need to do to get new clients. The
number of people, Evie, that I start working with, anyone that I work with in private mentorship or come into my mastermind are people that I like really get into the weeds with. And the number of people that I start with that come into one of those programs, I say, okay, where do you get your clients from? And they say, well, it's referral or an event or some sort of relationship. And then I say, okay, well, like, and what are the things that are like really burning you out right now? And they're like, well, I'm posting on social media every single day and I'm sending 17 emails a week. And it's like, okay, well, it's great that you're sending emails. Like, did any of your previous clients come from social media? Well, no. Okay, cool. Let's just lighten your load on social media. Now, some of it's going to depend, right? It doesn't mean that social media is not a good platform, but the majority of the women that I work with, the majority of moms that I sort of see in the online space are in service-based businesses and they're providing service, or they're running a service-based brick and mortar business like a gym or a multidisciplinary clinic or something like that. And most of that business is going to come from referral. I actually I posted on Threads about this the other day because I had a bit of not a tiff with the client, but I had a client that was like, Laura, I need you to give me more strategies for getting, and this is like a service-based business owner, more strategies for getting more clients. And I was like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like we have strategies. We've got relationship building strategies. We're building in referrals. We're going to affiliates. Like, are you doing the things? Are you going to events? Are you doing the things that are required to like get in front of people? Is your Google set up? Do we know your SEO is working for you? Are you being found on search and ChatGPT? Like, are those things happening? Great. If you're done, all those things, like I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to create a low ticket offer and build you a funnel in the back end off of it, because that's not the point. So it is really interesting. Anyway, so I took to Threads and I was like, hey, service providers, where did your last 3 to 5 clients come from? And I think I got 117 responses. So 117, which I think is like it's not everybody, but it's a pretty good subset. Drop that data into ChatGPT and just said like, hey, can you pull this, like mine this data for me? Give me some numbers. And I think it was like 75% of people were saying that their last 3 to 5 clients all came through relationship-based activities, through referral, clients coming back, people that they've met at events, networking, that kind of thing. And so I do think that piece is just so important. And so we have to know, okay, if I'm not getting clients from social media, why am I spending 100% of my marketing efforts there when I should probably be doing something else? I'm a person that's like kind of 50-50. I do get a lot of referral, but I also get a lot of people through, my podcast and through social media. And certainly with my inner circle and some of those other programs, that is a medium for me that works, but you do need to understand what that is. And if you don't know, maybe you don't have clients yet, you need to build relationships with other people in your space or that do similar work and say to them, hey, where are you getting clients? And learn from them, right? Success leaves clues. The most successful people that I know are people with incredible networks. So do with that what you want.
That's so true. And I think like, it's not even saying like, don't do social media at all. But if you shift that lens from, I need social media to be a selling machine for me, to I'm going to use it to continue to build these relationships that I'm making in person, I think that makes a huge difference as well. Which is something
most of us aren't in volume-based businesses, right? Most of us don't need the volume. Like the people that are, that most of us are following on social media that are saying like, oh, I make, $100,000 yesterday from social media. These are volume-based businesses, right? Where they have, $99 offers, $300 offers, and they're selling to 20,000 people a month, right? That is what that looks like. And so yes, social media, amazing vehicle if that is your business. But most people are not out here trying to be digital creators. And if we're going to talk about, we can have a whole other podcast episode where we could talk about building a digital course business and what that would look like. But that's not the majority of people's businesses, right? And so I think it's really important that we are aligning our strategy with not only who we are as a human being, what we've talked about, but also our business model. If your business model is high ticket service, you posting a reel on Instagram every day is very unlikely to be the thing that's going to convert you the number of clients that you want, right? No one's going to be like, wow, that's a really great reel. Let me write you a check for $10,000, complete stranger on the internet. Like, that's so unlikely. Does it happen every now and then? Sure. But I wouldn't bet my whole business on it.
Yeah. And I like what you mentioned about the client that you had who was like, we're doing all these things, but it's just not working. Do you think sometimes it's just a matter of being patient and just knowing that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and just letting it do its thing?
Yeah. So it's two things. And it's actually my least favorite advice to have to tell. I'm sure you've seen me have to give this advice to someone. And it's my least favorite thing to say as a business mentor is like, you just haven't given it enough time. And that is, again, I hate that. If you are really, and this is why I say it's two things, because I think we also have to be really honest with ourselves, right? And I'm willing to bet with love that if you're listening to this right now, you're probably not doing everything that you could be doing. And I think that we like to tell ourselves that we are. Like, yeah, like I sent a couple emails and I went to this event. And it's like, well, did you go to the event and then sit at the table and then you were really shy and you didn't talk to anybody? Or did you hang out with your besties the whole time? Or did you go to the event, work the room, meet as many people as possible, get as many names as possible, and then make a point of actually following up with them after? That would be question A. And then B, when it's like, are you doing the outreach? Are you building relationships? Like sending one email a week, that ain't it. If you have a relationship-based business, like you need to be, how many people there are in this world? You know how many business owners there are? Like get out there. You need to be sending emails all of the time, building relationships, sending DMs, asking for the coffee chat, like pitch yourself on the podcast. I went to a mentorship sort of day a couple of years ago, and the guy that was leading it was like, oh, so what are you doing to promote your business? And I was like, well, I've been on a few podcasts. And he's like, well, how many podcasts have you been on this year? I was like 20. He's like, try one a week. Like get on 52. What are you doing? Like that's not enough. And so I do think that, obviously male advice, you can take that with a grain of salt, but I do think that we have to really be honest with ourselves. Like, are you doing everything? Really? Are you doing everything? Because if you genuinely are, you are pounding the pavement, you're kicking down doors, you're asking for the intros, if you are genuinely doing it and you're like, it's not working, then yes, it's time. It's just time. It just means that, hey, those relationships are going to take some time. And my least favorite advice, it's my least favorite advice to give to people. I hate having to do it. But usually anytime I do give this advice, it's like 2 days later, I get a message and they're like, you were right. It came through. It happened. But a lot of business is planting seeds and we don't know when a lot of those seeds are going to bloom, which can be so incredibly frustrating. And so it's twofold, right? It's like, are you really doing the things that you should be doing at an event? Like the worst thing you could do at an event is to buy a ticket, sit in the back of the room, have a crusty face on, sit with your bestie and talk to no one. Like, why would you pay? That's not the point. Is to go, is to learn, is to meet as many people as possible, to be the most interested person in the room. Not interesting. You don't have to like put on a show, but be interested in other people and then follow up after. Meeting a person one time does not guarantee a client, does not guarantee a referral, does not guarantee a relationship. And so I do think that, if you're genuinely checking off all those boxes, yeah, it's probably just time. And again, least favorite advice, but it's the truth.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the work, like I've worked with you, when did we work together? Early 2025. And I found that a lot of, like half of what I was struggling with was mindset. So is that something that you find often, that it's actually a mindset issue versus an actual strategy issue?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I have a client, she's my mastermind right now. She's amazing. And she has a business that lends itself really well to an affiliate program, an affiliate marketing program. And we started this mastermind 4 months ago. And I was like, great, this is what we need to do. Step one, let's do it. It's taken her 4 months to send one email. And not because she's not capable, but because she's scared, right? Like, what does it mean if am I going to put myself out there? I'm going to send an email. I'm going to offer someone an opportunity to be in my affiliate program. Like, that's scary. And so, I think if she had sent those emails 4 months ago, she'd probably be making a lot of money from that affiliate program, but her mindset needed the strengthening to get to a place where she was willing to be vulnerable enough to take on the no. I do think so much of it is mindset. Evie, the reality is business is simple. Building a business is simple, but our mindsets really mess it up. And we can also put ourselves into rooms sometimes that do that for us. I met a woman the other day who just joined the inner circle And she's like, I've been in so many coaching programs, and the coaches that I've been around have given me so much mixed information. I don't even know who I am anymore. And I've completely lost myself. I was told I have to like show up with makeup and be somebody that I'm not. And I was just like, whoa, okay, this is not it. So yeah, a lot of my job is like returning people to themselves. And by that, I mean like almost like their inner child in a way, that confident version. Cause we all came out that way. You know, I look at my 8-year-old daughter, who is the most confident human being I've ever met in my life. And there's so many women that I talk to that just lack that confidence, right? It's fear. It's, can I charge that much? What if that would look like? And so often people will come to me and be like, wouldn't it be cool if one day and I'm like, cool. What if that's today? Like, why wouldn't that just be today? So I do think that mindset's a big part of it. I think in my work, I write a lot more permission slips than I ever thought that I would write, and then kind of like walk beside them. But listen, building business is scary. It is scary. It's scary for me. It's scary for everybody. And I think we do have to work on our mindset in a way where we're like willing to take a risk, willing to do something that's scary, while also like knowing that we're safe. You know, I always talk about how I will never stop talking about therapy. Obviously, go to a lot of therapy, have done a lot of therapy, have a lot of supports in place for myself, friends, peers, my partner, the sauna in my backyard, things like that, right? Like I have things in place that are intended to like be my supports. But yeah, I think mindset is a really big reason that holds us back. And we all have different reasons and different stories that kind of get in the way. Sometimes it's a money story, sometimes it's a confidence story, sometimes it's like a rejection story, things like that. Yeah, a lot more of my work is that than I ever would have thought.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that's what kind of lends to the longevity of a business, is doing that work as well as starting the business?
Yeah, you have to. You have to. It's scary. Every time you do something for the first time, as your business grows, everything gets more expensive, right? You're spending more money on either people or ads or resources or whatever. Like, yeah, it is scary. You know, there is a price that you will pay as an entrepreneur with your mental health, one way or another. It's up to you how much you pay. But I think if you are a person that is like choosing to take risk, you're choosing to grow, you're choosing to add complexity to your business, you are absolutely going to have to work on your mindset, because that means that you are consistently doing things that for the first time. You're consistently making new hires. You're stretching yourself. If you're not a person that desires that, that's fine. I mean, I just ended a coaching relationship with a woman who does not desire to add complexity to her relationship or to her business, or maybe her relationship. I don't know, but complexity to her business, right? She is a one-woman show. She wants to provide high ticket service, the end, right? Like the business is the business. Does she need to keep doing mindset work? Maybe, maybe not. Does she need more strategy? No, she doesn't. She doesn't need that. But if you want to consistently add complexity to your business, then yeah, you are going to need to continue to flex your mindset muscle and to figure out how you're going to support that, whether that's through coaching or mentorship or through a therapist or through some other modality. I do think that's a big part of it. Strategy is only going to get you so far. You really do have to lean into it and choose to become the version of yourself that, you know, makes whatever 7 figures a year, $100,000 a year, whatever version of that you want to be. I'm just not her yet. You know, I think about my goals for this Mother Means business and what I want to do, what I want it to become. I know I'm not the version of myself yet that is like ready for how big I want it to be. I'm becoming her, but there's still work to do.
And since you mentioned mentorship, I think a big key to that, and you've spoken about this before, is finding the right mentor. So you've said it before, like somebody who doesn't have kids probably shouldn't coach somebody who has kids. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. And I think this is, whenever I post this, people get angry in my comments. And I think people have stopped fighting me on it now because they're just like, there goes Laura again. So here's what I think. I think if you're trying to learn a skill from somebody, it doesn't matter whether they have kids. If you're trying to like learn how to build a funnel or learn how to use LinkedIn, like who cares? You're just learning a skill. But I think when we think about like mentorship, partnership, somebody to kind of walk beside you in a business, it's really difficult to be led by someone who has never lived a second in your shoes. And so I mentioned earlier in the episode how your human is so important, how we have to consider the human being behind the business as we build it. It's really hard for someone that has no idea what it's like to be a mom. And that's not their fault. That's just the truth, to say, hey, Evie, you know what? I think maybe we could just like try a little harder. And you'd be like, girl, I am trying so hard. So I think that it's important in mentorship to not have to explain yourself. And so when you are being led by someone that understands your life, I think there's just like an unspoken connection there that is safer in my experience. And one of the stories I like to tell about this is, back when I owned a gym, I had a mentor and he was lovely, but he was a dad and he owned a gym, and he had his wife stayed at home and she was primary parent, and really allowed him to do what he needed to do in his business. And there was a day where I think I was on a call and I had my daughter probably behind me in her high chair, like Cheerios everywhere, just trying to, talk about the gym. And I said to him, I was like, I'm really struggling. I'm really having a hard time. This is stressing me out. I feel like I'm failing as a mom. Like, these are the things that are hard. And he was like, that must be really tough. Can we pull up your spreadsheet and let's look at, your recent close rates and where you're at? And I was like, I just told you that I am struggling mentally, and now you want me to look at my numbers? I don't give a shit about my numbers. I don't care. I don't care what my close rates are. I don't care what my ROAS on my ads are. Like, I don't care. What I'm telling you is that, like, my human being needs tending to. And I didn't have the confidence to say that at the time. I just kind of sat there and went through the spreadsheet, and inside I was dying. And very shortly after that, sent a little email. Thanks so much, but I'm done here. And it's just moments like that, right? It's moments like that where someone can be like, you know what? We're not going to talk about your business today. There's been so many times where I've gotten on a call with a client where I think we're going to be talking about this like really deeply heavy strategy thing, and they get on the call and their energy is just off. And I'm like, whew, okay, we are not talking about the thing I thought we were going to talk about today. And that's fine. That's beautiful. And so for me, like, having had that experience, and I wish I could tell you that was the only experience that I've had where I've been like, ooh, this ain't it. It's not. And so for me, just being able to hold the person and know what they're going through and being held back, I think is something it's really important.
And I think, like, from your position as a mentor and a coach, like, respecting that is something I've always noticed, like, with myself, with people with inside the inner circle. I feel like you always give the opportunity, like, do you want me to, like, coach you right now, or do you want me to, like, help you as a human being right now? And it's nice to have somebody who can do both.
Yeah, we had thank you for saying that, Evie. I received that. We had a woman in my mastermind recently who came in and was like very upset about some things that were going on, and I really I was sort of sitting here being like, I would like to push you right now because I would like to challenge the thing that you're saying, but I don't actually know that you want to be challenged. And so I asked for permission. I was like, do you, because like, I'm going to have a response to something, right? And ultimately, like, people like to joke that I like lovingly bully people with love, right? It's just like, it is kind of my job to call you out on your shit, right? And so, showed up to the call. She's very upset. She's speaking very emphatically about the thing that she's upset about, but I'm being like, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. My gut response is I need to challenge this, but I also am cognizant of the fact that she's very emotional and very upset. And so I asked her for permission. I said, like, is it okay do you want to be challenged right now? Or do you just want me to like make space? 'Cause I'm here for whatever you need. But if you are open to it, I would like the opportunity to challenge you. And she said, no, I want to be challenged. I said, okay. So I did. And it was pretty intense and we got through it and it was fine. But yeah, I think it's really important. Like, my agenda doesn't matter in the context of building a business, right? It really doesn't. I don't care about, obviously I want you to make as much money in your business as possible. I want that for you. But like, what I want doesn't matter. It's what you want. And there are some women that I work with that are in the inner circle or in the mastermind that desire more time with their children than I even desire, right? That I'm not necessarily aligned with. People are like, nope, I homeschool and I want my kids at home with me all day. And I'm like, well, we'll work within those confines. Like, that's not what I would choose for myself. But if you choose that for yourself, great, I accept. Challenge accepted. And there's no judgment there. There's no like, you get to live your life by design. It's my job as a mentor to, okay, cool. How do we set some boundaries in place? Because there are realities of business. We still have to treat our business like a business, but also accept that like, hey, maybe this isn't going to be, I don't care if it turns into a amazing social media success story when I can be like, I tripled your income in 6 months. Like, probably not going to do that if we're also homeschooling your kids full time. That might not be the reality. Can we still triple your income? Yeah, but it might take us 18 months and that's fine. And so like my agenda doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's about like the people and what they need. Cause I do think that everything is possible. It's just sometimes it takes a little longer if we're prioritizing different things, and that's okay.
And I also find that you're very open about the good and the hard in your business. Like you're not hiding that. You're not like, writing magazine exposés about your whole entire life because there's boundaries, but you're not scared to talk about the wins and the losses at the same time, which I think, especially considering the audience and the clients that you work with as moms, I think that's so important. How have you seen that kind of impact from doing that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm pretty committed to is not trying to pretend I'm somebody I'm not. And I am not somebody that has all the answers. I'm not somebody that has got it perfect every time. I'm not somebody that, is making 8 figures every single minute. Like that's not it. I am building my business in real time at the same time that I'm helping these women build theirs. And so for me, I think it just comes down to really wanting to be honest, because I'm never going to lie to somebody. I'm never going to tell a person, let's just, just keep staying in my program and we'll figure it out together. Like if I can't help you, or if I think that this, this model isn't doing, or that you're like walking down a path that doesn't make sense, like I'm going to tell you the same way that I like to build out loud and like to build in front of people. And like, this is what I'm doing. What I do find is for, when personally, like on a business perspective, when I share what's true for me, I find that people kind of line up to either root for me or want to be involved with it a little bit more, because there is a humanness to it, and being human and just being who I am is something that has got me this far. And so I'll keep doing it. There's certainly like some things that I don't share because I can't, right? Like there's some stuff that like legally I cannot share or would get me in a lot of trouble if I were to share. So there's still so much that nobody sees, but I do try to be like pretty open about the stuff that goes on. And some of it I can't hide. I mean, like I broke my leg 2024, 2 years ago, which is crazy that it's almost 2 years ago. And that I like very much had to share. Like my business tanked because turns out breaking your leg's pretty tiring. I couldn't do a lot of the things that worked for me in my business, like going to events and building referral networks. I was really, handcuffed for lack of a better word. And I was really open about that and had to rebuild my business and sort of reestablish some things. But yeah, it's, I'm never going to pretend that I'm somebody I'm not. I'm never going to pretend I have all the answers. I don't. If somebody doesn't want to hire me as a business mentor because I'm honest about that, then I probably don't want them as a client either.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a conversation that you and I had that's always, to this day, has still stuck with me, like from our time working together. And it was around not feeling like you're doing enough in your business. And I feel like that's such an important conversation to have.
Yeah.
I still remember it word for word. See, now I forget what it was word for word.
I remember word for word, but I forget it.
Taking the time to recognize when you've done what you set out to do, and the rest just gets to be fun.
Yeah.
And that alone, whenever I'm like down and out, like, oh, it's not enough, it's not making enough, it's like, okay, but what did you set out to do? And the rest just gets to be fun. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit more, just for other people who have been in the same spot?
Yeah. And I'm glad that stuck with you. It means a lot. I just got like chills being like, whew, yeah. I think, and I do this to myself. So like when I said that for you, I said it for me too, because I think when entrepreneurship naturally attracts people that overachieve, right? And when we continue to move the goalpost on ourselves, right? That's when shit stops being fun, right? When we're like, okay. And I've done this to myself. I remember like the first year that I really wanted to make $200,000 a year. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make $200,000 in my business. And I did it. And I got to the end, and I'm sure it was like December by the time I hit this goal. And I got to the end and I felt nothing. Because I had pushed so hard. I'd push, and I did it at the cost of a lot of things. And I was like, well, that was fine. I didn't celebrate. I didn't do anything. It was like, okay, well, I did it. Move along. Next, right? Moving the goalpost. And I think it's really important that when we set out as entrepreneurs, we need to know, like, what do we actually want to do here? And it's hard when we are surrounded, especially for people in the online space, by these like 100K months, 50K months, things that are real. I mean, I just recorded a podcast episode of my own client who went from $39,000 a year to she made $50,000 in January. And those messages are real because that stuff is real, but it can be really hard when, we're not experiencing that. And all we need to do in our business to achieve what we need to for our family is make $50,000 in a year. And that's enough. And that can be enough. And so I think when we are constantly moving our own goalpost and constantly like taking these external messages and looking at what other people are doing, we actually lose track of our own purpose, of our own reason for doing what it is that we're doing. And so if your goal is to make $50,000 in a year, great. Do that. And then let the rest be fun. Anything that just happens after that, fine. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing this? Truly. It would be so much easier for you to go make $50,000 working for somebody else than it would for you to have to grind to make it as an entrepreneur. And so you have to choose to allow it to be fun within and we talked earlier about like definition of what it means to be a good mom. Same thing. What's your definition of success? If your definition of success, it gets to be yours. And if that's making it could be making $30,000 a year. It doesn't have to be any of these big giant numbers that people throw around if that's not what you need. And so I just think that's so important for us to be like clear on what it is that we need to do in our business, and anything above that to just enjoy it and stop moving the goalposts and stop making it harder on yourself than it needs to be. Just because somebody else is making 7 figures, the price of making 7 figures is extremely high, right? Like there's a cost to that. And so if your business is going to make $30,000 a year or $50,000 a year, and that's what's going to feed your family, beautiful. I love it. Keep it going. Enjoy the rest.
Amazing. I feel like that's like the perfect little bow on this conversation. Okay, so I'd love to kind of give you the opportunity to let people know where they can find you, how they can work with you. I do have some rapid fire questions, but let us know first.
Cool.
Best place to find you.
The best place to find me.
To.
Yeah, so our event's coming up on April 1st at the Pearl Hotel. It is This Mother Means Business Live. You can learn everything you need to learn about my work at thismothermeansbusiness.com. You can learn about our Inner Circle program, my masterminds, my one-on-one coaching, and the event and the podcast. Everything is there. So spend a little time, click around on a few things. You'll find it all there. thismothermeansbusiness.com. You can also connect with me on Threads and Instagram at It's Laura Sinclair, or you can follow us at This Mother Means Business as well.
Perfect. Amazing. And I will also link in the show notes all of those links and the event as well. And
awesome.
I will be there. So come and see me there. Okay. Rapid fire. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
Tea.
Oh, perfect. I didn't know that about you. I thought
I've actually never had a cup of coffee.
Me neither. Okay.
Tea.
Amazing. There we go. We'll have a cup of tea. Okay. What would you say is the biggest myth about balancing motherhood and business?
That it's anything more than just being where your feet are. Just focusing on one thing at a time.
Perfect. What is one thing that you stopped doing that made everything easier?
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel like a lot of things. And one of the things I stopped doing, I stopped really worrying about what other people think about me.
Yeah. That's a good one. The best piece of advice you've ever received and actually used?
Best piece of advice is actually ask forgiveness, not permission. I received this advice when I was an intern at Golf Canada. I was 18 years old, and Third Eye Blind was playing the Canadian Open, and they were hanging out in the the clubhouse. And I remember I walked up to one of the senior guys and was like, am I allowed to go in there? And he was like, ask forgiveness, not permission. I was like, and so I have adopted that for a lot of my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. What is your biggest or favorite marketing prediction for 2026?
Well, I think marketing is going to get lazy. And I mean that in people don't want perfection anymore. And so like, you don't need to be making Canva graphics, like just show up, shoot a video. Reese Witherspoon just went viral on a video, like in her car. So when I say it's going to get lazy, it's just like quick, fast, authentic little bites.
Yeah. And finally, do you have a dream collab or partnership that you're calling in for 2026?
So many. We're starting to partner with some really cool big brands for This Mother Means Business. And so I would love to have one. And there's one that's landed for This Mother Means Business Live. We're doing a really cool home office makeover giveaway with a very cool Swedish furniture brand. I'll leave it at that.
Amazing.
And that's really exciting. So calling that one in and more to come on that front.
Perfect.
For sure.
Amazing. I love that. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and for being here. And yeah, we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Evie.
I want to take a quick moment just to thank you so much for joining me in this space and just to encourage you that if there was anything that kind of sparked something for you, or that you felt like somebody that you know maybe needed to hear, please feel free to share the episode. And if you are excited to hear more, go ahead and subscribe and listen to more of the episodes. I'm so excited that you're here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.